Tara Park, and I'm actually a 6th grade teacher from Pennsylvania. I've been teaching at a virtual school for 8 years now. Is there anybody here that's a K through 12 teacher? Oh, really? Now, where are you from? What school?
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Oh, okay. Same thing?
Same thing.
Are you at the same school also?
I know.
Where?
I know.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I thought it was going to be all higher ed, but that's good. Okay. Well, we've been teaching students since 2001. And like I said, I teach 6th grade now, but I've taught every grade from K through 8. I want to share a few of the things that I do to promote student engagement, mostly in Elluminate or Blackboard Collaborate. I know, I'm going to have a hard time saying that. But I wanted to throw up a few things that I did in my Blackboard Learn classroom as well. This year I tried to incorporate the blog and wiki tool, and I hadn't done that in the past, but I thought I wanted to think about a way to do it, to utilize these tools a little bit differently. This year with the blog tool, what I did was I've always had my students do some sort of a reading activity where we track the books that they read and they have to reach a certain goal, and then I send them some sort of a coupon for I do Pizza Hut Book It or something like that. And in the past, they would just send me an email and say, I read this book, and I'd file it, and then that was it. It was just between them and me. This year, I decided to use the blog tool, and I had them post the name of the book in the subject line, a summary of the book, and then would they recommend that book. And it was nice because instead of just going from them to me, then it could kind of grow. And somebody would say, oh, I read that book. You know, if you like that book, you might like this book. And now it was something where they were really able to collaborate. So that was something I just wanted to kind of throw in there. I embed media into my Blackboard organization all the time because I think it was a couple sessions ago, I seen somebody was saying that people this generation, like they need media, they need that visual. And so I find that my students really are receptive to that. And a lot of the media that I embed blogs into my Blackboard organization, and a lot of people will say, you know, how come your Blackboard organization looks like a website? And that's why. But one of the big things that I've changed in my online classroom this year was the use, or the effective use, of breakout rooms in Blackboard Collaborate, or in my case it was Elluminate. But does everybody know what this pyramid is up on the screen? Okay, this is Bloom's taxonomy. I'm assuming everyone probably knows what that is. And I really use this as my guide. I realized that in the past, I would put up a PowerPoint into my Blackboard Collaborate room. That's going to be hard for me to say. And I would really kind of do a lot. I would try to engage them, but I really found that in the end, I was doing a lot of reading from my slides and asking comprehension questions. So I was engaging them in that way, but I'm still only really hitting on knowledge and comprehension. And so I started thinking about how could I actually get them to apply their knowledge, create, evaluate, analyze. So really the use of breakout rooms was my answer. This is an example of something I tutored also after school. And my tutoring students, they wrote every single day. And what did you call it, Cindy, when you say you leave the class with like a ticket?
Oh, an exit ticket.
An exit ticket.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that's what I was doing,
Yeah.
but every single class that I had, my students had to do something to demonstrate that they learned. It wasn't just that they were giving me a smiley face or a frowny face if they didn't understand. I had something that I could save that was a demonstration that they understood and applied their knowledge. So this was just something where I had my students rewrite this paragraph using, because I taught similes and metaphors and imagery, and I said rewrite this paragraph giving me an example of a simile, a good hook, and an example of imagery. And so they applied their knowledge. This was a really fun lesson to do, and in math, it was great this year because in the past, I used breakout rooms, but what I had them do was I would teach my lesson and I would put them in breakout rooms and give them like 10 slides where they would have to solve math problems. And that's fine. And a lot of the times there were multiple choice questions. And you know, there's a place for that. But what I did this year, it's a geometry lesson that I've always taught. It's kind of a review of the whole unit. And I said, all right, now, so I taught I think it was like a 20-minute lesson. And I said, go to your breakout rooms and I want you to create a map that demonstrates that you get this. And there's different criteria, things that they had to do. So here's an example of one student. This is kind of like a basic one. So they had to do 2 streets that were parallel, 1 street that intersect, or 2 streets that intersect, or 1 street, I can't remember, to form an obtuse angle, 1 to form an acute angle, something in the shape of an isosceles triangle, and so forth. So they're demonstrating that they're applying their knowledge to create this map. So again, you're going all the way up to create. That's up at the top of Bloom's taxonomy. They were able to be a little bit more creative when we did this, and they really liked it. You know, it gave them an opportunity to really be engaged. So here's the girl, and you can see they all kind of had a different take on it. I like this guy with the yellow stripe down the roads.
It's great.
This is also a great way to, it's just a natural fit to differentiate, which is important because we are K through 12, and I mean, I guess in higher ed you have to differentiate too. But it's really important for us to be able to differentiate. So a lot of the times I might have a student, and in fact this year I did have a student where I would make sure that whatever was in his breakout room, whatever the instructions that he had to do, correlated with his IEP, which was great, because then I could save the work and I had it. I had an example. So that was nice. In history, and this is something that I'm hoping might appeal to some of the higher ed people here, I did this lesson in history utilizing breakout rooms, and I have to say it was one of the best lessons I ever did. The first thing I put up on the screen was I wanted to say, this is the big idea, this is why we study history, to impact decisions we make today. And this was a lesson on 4 ancient river valley civilizations, which we teach in World History Ed. And we say in order to be considered a civilization, you need a surplus of food, a division of labor, and the formation of cities. This is in their textbook. So at the end, and we had some discussions because one of the students said, well, what do you mean then? If a student, or if a person lives in, say, this was what a student said, if a person lives in Africa and doesn't have a surplus of food or a job, does that mean that they're not living in a civilization? And so then we talked about that. So this is a discussion that we could get into as adults. You know, so for a sixth grader or 7th grader to be able to really have an enriched lesson like this is really great. So what I did was I told them, go to your breakout rooms and you're the mayor of the city. And I can't remember, somebody I think you had said that, about how you have kind of like simulate some sort of an activity for them to be able to solve. So they went out into the breakout rooms and they were supposed to be mayor of the city, and they had to focus on the 5 initiatives: hire more police officers, create more jobs, reform the educational system, fix the hunger, or work on finding housing. And they went into their breakout rooms and listed their initiatives. So this student did 1, 2, and then the 3rd one was fix hunger, reform the educational system, and then fix housing. And they had to explain why they chose that order. Okay, and then in the end, they loved the lesson, and they said, you know, we want to do more with this. So I was like, all right, well, you know what, let's meet back on Thursday. And we actually got back, and I put them in 2 groups, and each student had to represent a different stakeholder. So one person was the chief of police, one person was an unemployed mother, one person was the superintendent of the school district or something like that. And again, now they got to really collaborate with one another and debate, you know, and they had to ultimately, the mayor had to decide, you know, what the final outcome was going to be, because that's a real life situation that really anybody could get into an enriched discussion about. Okay, so basically, I just feel that breakout rooms really, if they're utilized properly, of course you're going to access their knowledge and comprehension, but it gives them a chance to really apply their knowledge. It gives them a chance to analyze, to evaluate, and ultimately in the breakout rooms, all of my students have an opportunity to create something, which is great. So I did leave my, I put my wiki space up there because I just kind of threw a YouTube video of how to utilize breakout rooms, because, you know, I'm kind of talking about why you should use breakout rooms, but if you don't know how to use breakout rooms, there's a good video up there. So that's it.